Maibuye Africa. Viva EFF. Viva EFF. Viva EFF. Thank you. 10 years ago, the economic freedom fighters became a movement in this part of the world. 10 years ago, our leaders, led by the President and the Commander-in-Chief, Julius Selo Malema, sat down and determined that South Africa must take a different direction. 10 years ago, he put together many great young men and women who now bestride the South African political terrain like the fabled Colossus, organized in different formations, headed by the commissars who are here present, whom I salute, supported by the fighters on the ground, whom I salute, because in the last 10 years, you've done a great job. In the days when you started, there were those who doubted, those who assumed that you are just but a flickering flame which would disappear, but you've refused to disappear. 10 years ago, there are those who thought that you are a passing cloud, you've refused to pass. 10 years ago, there are those who thought that you are mere irritation. You have continued to irritate as you must. 10 years ago, South Africa did not know who you are. Today, they recognize who you are. I am happy to be in this land in the Cape, which as a young man I was taught was the Cape of Good Hope. And I have no doubt that there is good hope today, and we shall talk about that Cape of Good Hope. I am here and happy to be in the land of great Africans, some of whom are alive and some of whom are long gone. It is not lost on me that this is the land that produced people like Pixley Kaisa Kaseme, whom we never talk about as often as we should. And as I talk to you today and talk about EFF, I cannot forget that in the year 1906, in the United States of America, that Pixley Kaisa Kaseme said that we must regenerate Africa, and regenerate Africa we will. This is the land that produced to the world and to South Africa Albert Luthuli, who came and played his part. This is the land that produced Robert Mangaliso Sobukwe, that great man of whom we never say much, of whom when he was asked, he said the only race in the world is the human race. That man came out of this land. I cannot forget that this is the land that produced Bantu Steve Biko, whom we never mention as often as we should. I cannot forget that this is the very same land that produced Winnie Mandela, that great woman that we never talk about. Oh, I cannot forget that this is the land that produced Albertina Sisulu. I cannot forget. I cannot forget that this is the very same land that produced Chris Hani. I cannot forget. I cannot forget that this is the land that produced Nelson Mandela. I cannot forget. I cannot forget that this is the land that produced Solomon Mahlangu. This is that land. I cannot forget that this is the very same land that produced Tiro Ngopot. I cannot forget. And I cannot forget that this is the very same land that has produced Floyd Shivam. Oh, I cannot forget. I cannot forget that this is the same land that has produced Dr. Ndlov. I cannot forget. I cannot forget that it's the very same land that has produced Veronica. I cannot forget. I cannot forget that this is the very same land that has produced one of the hottest ions in Africa today, Julius Selo Malema. So today, as we are gathered here today, we must ask ourselves, and what is the state of our continent? What is the state of pan-Africanism? I remember so very vividly in this land, in this South Africa, in this land where one of the greatest crimes ever committed by man was unleashed, the crime of apartheid. In this land, there came men who, in their misguided view, took the view that the black man was the child of a lesser God. They introduced one of the most egregious crimes ever known to man. They committed crimes of man's inhumanity to man. For many years, this land suffered under the yoke of apartheid. But you are not alone. Before that, the African was subjected to slavery. Our kith and kin were taken away into different parts of the world. They were taken away to Europe. They built Europe. They were taken away to the United States of America. They built the United States of America. They were taken away to the Caribbean. They built the Caribbean. Then after slavery had lost its lust and attraction, they pretended to ban slavery. But it came again in a different form. And sitting in Berlin in 1884 and 1885, those same diabolical peoples divided our continent into little pieces. They came here. The Dutch were here. They went to what is now Namibia. The Germans were here. They went to Angola and Mozambique and Guinea-Bissau and Cabo Verde. The Portuguese were here. They came to Nyasaland. They came to what was then Rhodesia and Zambia. And they went to Kenya and Uganda and Ghana and Nigeria and Sierra Leone and Gambia. The British were here. Then the French also came. They were here. They went to Dahomey, now Benin, to Togo, to Cameroon, to Cote d'Ivoire, to Senegal, to Mauritania, to Algeria. The French were here. The Italians were here. They came to Somalia. They went to Libya. They were here. The Belgians were here. They went to Congo. The Spanish were here. They went to Sao Tome and Principe. They were here. The Belgians, of course, and the Germans went to Rwanda and Burundi. They were here. All of them were here. And what they did was to remind us, if we needed reminding at all, that they were here to stay. They abused us. We fought against them wherever they were. The Mau Mau fought them in Kenya. They fought them in Tanganyika. They fought them in Ghana. and we defeated them, and we started regaining our independence. I can still hear those immortal words of the Osagie for Kwame Nkrumah on the 6th day of March 1957 in Accra, Ghana, telling his Ghanaian peoples that the independence of Ghana means nothing if the rest of Africa is not independent.